Hillary Clinton is a war criminal. I'm sorry. And
what makes her a war criminal?
Because she has voted for, first of all, let's just look at the Iraq war vote. Killed 2 million people in Iraq. New figures just came out that said that 2 million people have died in Iraq and Afghanistan since 2003. Not even to mention the million babies who died from sanctions in the 90s. Aside from that, Hillary Clinton, the Gaddafi, Libya, Syria, she wants to bomb Iran. I mean, she is the worst. If you
she
look
said
at
she
her,
wants to bomb Iran?
You look, someone did a report, I think it was in the New York Times, kind of an embedded report in the National Security Cabinet. And they said that she is on par, if not worse than John McCain, of all of her war hawkish ideals in terms of foreign policy. It is scary shit, man. So as much as people want to pretend like she's like this liberal do-gooder, I'm most concerned about ending imperialism, militarism, and, you know, U.S. hegemony. So I'm not going to be voting for Hillary Clinton because she's a fucking woman. I don't give a shit if someone's a woman, if they're black, if they're gay. If they are perpetuating war crimes and killing innocent people, I know, going back to what you said, it's hard to be a president and not have someone's death on your hands, but fucking A, you don't have to just sign up to kill millions of people on a fake war against a non-existent threat.
I wonder what motivates someone like Hillary Clinton at this stage of her life.
Gulf money. You should look at who funds her campaign. It is unbelievable. The Clinton Foundation, dude, check this out. The Clinton Foundation, not only, you know, like all these giant corporations and banks, the real creepy part is when you see Saudi and Gulf states actually giving her tens of millions of dollars over the years. That shit is scary. Saudi Arabia basically has bribed so many politicians. Harvard, Oxford, like all of these institutions to get Saudi money. And then you start to understand the culture of silence around Saudi Arabia and why we have this double standard, this egregious double standard in the war on terror and this unholy partnership with this country. Now we're bombing Yemen together. Bombing Yemen together. Saudi Arabia and the U.S. Bombing the shit out of Yemen, the poorest country in the entire Arab world. What good is that going to do? How is that going to exacerbate the problems there? Bombing the poorest country in the Middle East.
What is the motivation?
So Saudi Arabia doesn't want the Houthi rebels because they threaten Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia like backed a coup and supported a puppet regime in Yemen a while back. And Yemen is just kind of a thorn in Saudi Arabia's side. What do we get out of bombing Yemen? Bribery, political bribery and hegemony and domination, regional influence. And plus Saudi Arabia wants us to. But when you look at the coalition that's actually bombing Yemen, it's like brutal, oppressive monarchies and like genocidal dictators, like Sudan's dictator. And then you have like, I think, Egypt, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia and a couple other countries. It's like, wow, great job. Great job. Why is the U.S. supporting bombing Yemen? And on a side note, the U.S. has been bombing Yemen with drones for years anyway. And then you keep hearing on the news that Iran is backing the Houthi rebels in Yemen, and that's why we need to go in and destroy them. But I talked to this guy who's like an expert, and he's Saudi, and he runs this institute. Everyone check out the podcast on Media Roots. It's really, really mind-blowing shit, because he just breaks down really what is happening on the ground, and he says, look, Iran is not backing the Houthis any more than Saudi Arabia is backing ISIS. Like, all of these things have influence, and yeah, the money's filtered down, but it's such a double standard. If we're going to say Iran's backing the Houthi rebels, then we need to say that ISIS is funded by Saudi Arabia, and so is Al-Qaeda, because for a large part it is. It is.
That double standard in Saudi Arabia is bizarre. It's bizarre and creepy.
It's unbelievably insane. Saudi Arabia is orthodox, like they are the worst interpretation of Islam that exists. It's wahhabism. It's the most orthodox, oppressive, bastardized version of Islam. And we look at them and say, like, this is the only good Arab state? Like, that is fucked. Because not only are you telling the rest of the world that that version of Islam is somehow good, but you're also making it seem like... yeah, I mean, it's just unbelievable. You should see what kind of rights women has in the country. They can't exercise. They can't exercise. They can't play sports.
Why do they want fat chicks? Do they like
you wouldn't be able to tell
veal?
because they're covered in.
They're not allowed to exercise.
Yeah, that's what this guy was telling me. And
is that because they're not allowed to fight back? Like, what is that?
Well, first of all, they're property. So women can't do anything without a male master, like approval of a male. So they can't go to school, they can't go to work, they can't drive, they can't do a lot of things without having like a male permitting them to do so.
How many people live over there?
I don't know. They also do like public beheadings in the middle of freeways. They'll do public floggings of someone who simply criticizes the king online. They'll behead women for, you know, adultery, sorcery. This is the shit that we're talking. Sorcery.
Some chicks can cast a spell, though. You gotta be careful. Don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There might be a little sorcery going on that you gotta put a stop to. Can't drive, can't exercise. Fuck. So and you can't escape either.
No. Oh, and you know, King Abdullah, when he died, everyone was saying he was this great reformer. The Pentagon even like did an essay contest honoring King Abdullah, giving out prizes for people. Like, that's how insanely twisted this whole scenario is. Meanwhile, of course, the 28 Pages movement that shows that Saudi Arabia was involved in 9/11, we're actively carrying up that. Bandar Bush which was a Saudi in the Saudi government, and they actually called him a Bush because he was so close with the Bush administration. And I mean, Senator Bob Graham has come out and said that why did Bandar Bush, like, why are we protecting Saudis who were involved in the 9/11 attacks? I mean, straight up. Everyone ask yourself that. If you can give me a good answer, that would be great. If it's not about political bribery, what the fuck is it about? If it's not about like paying off these politicians with tens of millions of dollars, I don't know.
What else could it be about? If you really stop and think about it. I mean, what else could it be about except having an ally, in quotes, in the Middle East? What other?
But it's the worst ally to have. If you really cared about stopping terrorism, Saudi Arabia is the biggest exporter of terror. Wahhabi terrorism.
How dare you? What are you saying?
It's unbelievable.
There are allies, Abby
It's
Martin.
unbelievable. Well, yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty fucked. What I was getting when we started this all off was I was trying to figure out what would be the motivation of Hillary Clinton at this stage of her life. Like, how much money does she need? How much does she have? And how much does she need? Hillary's $2.5 billion obscene fundraising goal. That's her goal in order to become president? Urgh.
I remember an article came out that said that she had like a student discount on the speaking tours that she was giving, and it was like $250,000 was like a speaking fee at a university, and that was the student discount.
$250,000 to speak. What is she gonna say?
What is she gonna fucking say?
Well, when Bill got blown by Monica Lewinsky, I was super bummed out.
We smoked a victory cigar together.
But I knew that one day I would be president, and so I let it slide. Yeah, what? Huh?
Hillary Clinton is the worst, man. She's the fucking worst. And you know, the whole Saudi Arabia thing really grinds my gears because it's, you know, here you have Saudi Arabia beheading people for sorcery, exporting terrorism around the world. And then you have Cuba, which today, you know, here we go, 56 years after the Cold War, Cuba finally got removed from the state sponsors of terrorism list.
Yeah, you can buy cigars now. They're sweet.
State sponsors of terrorism. That's what Cuba was on for decades and decades for no fucking reason. Not even North Korea is on the list.
Really?